Okay, as you can see by me showing you this video picture of my cell phone, it shows that it's 12:03 p.m. on July 29, 2013. Okay, my name is Leslie Williams. I'm in San Diego, California. And hold on a second, because I got to turn on my stopwatch on my phone so I can keep track. I got to make this a video that's going to be less than 15 minutes. Anyways, as a result of being a target, victim, and activist concerned in the crimes of what is known as organized stalking, which can also be called gangstalking, organized stalking targets experience the factual reality of having every aspect of their personal lives and independence totally destroyed. Now, organized stalking and gangstalking can be thoroughly and meticulously researched on the internet, so you can see the factual reality that has been covered on the news. I'm going to direct you to some information in this particular video. And this video, my speech is going to be somewhat fast because I'm going to try and condense as much details in this video as I possibly can fit into it. Now, you can go to YouTube and type in gangstalking bullying on steroids in order to be able to see that organized stalking and gangstalking, what was concerning what was happening to that specific individuals, how neighbors were believed to directly be involved in the organized gangstalking of that targeted individual. Concerning the fact that he literally flat out states that he was harassed and is being harassed every single place he goes. Even concerning how they're literally harassing him at his home, even by getting on the roof of his home. Also, Lieutenant Larry Richards from the Santa Cruz Police Department was also on the news broadcast concerning this case, and he flat out stated that gangstalking's been going on forever and that it's even reached out into the cyber world. Now, what I did is I made some notes before I started this video, because sometimes when you talk about organized stalking or gangstalking and you start getting into the details, sometimes the details have details. I call them sub-issues. Hang on a second. So, to keep me from getting steered off into the details of details as a result of me describing things, I made some notes about what I want to explain to you pertaining to this particular video. And I'm going to go ahead, and it might seem a little mechanical or orchestrated, but what I'm doing is I wrote down these notes so I can talk to you about just a few small aspects of what's happened to me. And I'm going to go ahead and do it right now, and then I'll elaborate on it a little bit. On October 7th, 2011, which was a Friday, I went down to the San Diego District Attorney's Office on floor number 7, where I was directed to go, in order to be able to talk to a member of the District Attorney's Office about being a target of gang stalking and organized stalking, and that I highly suspected the San Diego police were involved in it, and I took them some literature, even stating that fire department personnel can be involved in gang stalking. Literature from a journalist by the name of Vic Livingston. Yes. He's a well-known, respected target that's all over the internet. Now, you can go to Google and type in police officer. You can go to Google and type in police officers, firefighters, and organized stalking or gang stalking, and you'll flat out be able to, not just by the amount of Google-generated responses, but by what comes up, you'll clearly be able to see that at least these two employment descriptions that our government officials do engage in organized stalking or can engage in it. Now, within 36 hours of after me going down there, telling them that I was a target of this crime, giving them the literature, making some statements concerning it, which happened on a early Friday afternoon, I left there and went about my day, went about my business. Saturday and Sunday, I didn't do much. Then Monday morning when I woke up and got on a second bus, which I had to get on because they pulled some shenanigans. I believe they pulled some shenanigans in order to get me on a certain bus route at a certain time. I ended up being assaulted, and then MTS sent me an altered video of the assault. It's flat out provable. It's undeniable. Okay, so the assault occurred within 36 hours of me going down to the San Diego District Attorney's Office, and the assault was also predicted 11 days before it occurred in an email file. Somebody went into my email account and erased all prediction emails that I made from July 20th up until the day of the assault. But on the day that the prediction was made, I copied and pasted the email onto a USB drive using a Word program at USD, and then downloaded that to a USB drive, which saved the date of the actual email electronically the 29th of September. 11 days before the assault occurred. It flat out stated in this email there's a great likelihood I'd be assaulted riding my bike, walking, or on public transportation. And 11 days later, I was literally assaulted on public transportation. Yes. Okay, second case in point. Within 36 hours of Senator Feinstien being anonymously contacted about me being gangstalked, but my name wasn't mentioned, as I was hiking 150 feet from the FBI building in San Diego for over 6 months, okay? In that contact information, also information was sent to her about the fact that the woman that she was being contacted about, who was hiking next door to the San Diego FBI building, was being gangstalked as she was hiking right next door to the FBI building, was also assaulted on an MTS bus. And then MTS sent that person an altered video of the assault. That information was also sent in the contact to Senator Feinstien. Okay? In the same contact, it flat out stated, will this woman be banned from any university or public library? And literally within 36 hours, I was brutally arrested at SDSU in their media room. Okay, so now we got 2 separate incidences of detrimental things happening to me within a 36-hour time period after government officials were notified about what was happening to me. Yes. Now, here's the third tidbit of information. Within 3 days of me predicting, I'm hiking in California. I'm saving for a mobile home. I'm not involved in any illegal or criminal activity whatsoever. Okay, whatsoever. But now, remember in the first part of this video, I talked to you about an individual who was covered on the news. Again, you can go to YouTube and type in Gangstalking Bullying on Steroids. In that YouTube video, it flat out states, excuse me for 1 second, I just got done doing a bunch of work, so I'm smoking a cigarette. Okay, now, in that news broadcast, he flat out, the target, the victim on the news broadcast, flat out states that he's harassed everywhere he goes, and even at his home, even to the point to where the perpetrators, which he's identifying in part, are his neighbors, are literally getting up on his roof. Yes. And he literally, in the news broadcast, even showed him getting on his roof to show the news reporter. Okay, now, you can go to Google and type in how organized stalking expeditions will either rent apartments above, below, or next to a target, or what they'll do in an apartment building, or what they'll do is solicit current tenants that are in the apartments above, below, or next to a target to engage in organized stalking methods to make that targeted individual feel harassed, violated because their apartment is broken into, things are moved around, things are stolen and then replaced at a later date, even their food can be poisoned. That's all over the internet as a reference to that being a method of theirs. Now, the following descriptions and what I've described so far can be Googled. How they'll break into apartments, how they'll steal the rent of a target, mail theft and mail delayment, post employees, how they get property owners and landlords on board. Yes. How they'll rent apartments next to, above, or below a target. Right now in my backpack, I have a book called The Invisible Crime that was written by Mike Fitzhugh-Bell. He was covered on a national radio show, okay, on Valentine's Day, coast to coast. He's a target of organized stalking. I went and purchased the book. I bought it off of Amazon and had it delivered to my P.O. box. I've read most of it. I've read very good parts of it. Even in the book, it states that organized gang stalking targets, that the perpetrators will rent apartments above, below, or next to a target. He calls them adjacent to a target, you know, like as far as renting apartments adjacent to a target in order to harass them, in order to enter their home and move furniture around, steal items, and then replace them at a later date, poison their food. In fact, there's even one description that he described in that book that happened to him, that happened to me to a T, that is already put in blogs concerning me. That's right. Now, so if you Google gangstalking, you'll clearly be able to see that one of the main objectives for the targets is to create homelessness of the target using property owners, landlords, mail theft and mail delayment, post employees. The second book I got in my backpack, the title of it literally talks about gangstalking at the post office in the title of the book, written by a postal employee. Okay, so that gives you knowledge right there. I just don't have my backpack out right now, but the title of the book is called Electronic Rage, Electronic Torture, Technology, and Gangstalking at the Post Office. That's right. And what that person describes in that book, who wrote that book, was described to a T in reference to the person, the author of that book, and the experiences she wrote. Okay, what she wrote in that book a separate target, Victoria Rose in San Diego County, California. Yes, put a documentation file online. And you can find it by going to Google and typing in Victoria Rose, California target, San Diego, gangstalking or organized stalking. Okay? And you'll find it. It's a PDF documentation file. Every single thing that Victoria Rose described in that documentation file, which I have printed out as well, along with the book, is exactly what is described that the postal employee that was being gang stalked by fellow postal workers that she described in the book she wrote. Identical, literally to a T. To a T. Okay, now, so we got mail theft and mail delayment of a target's rent. Renting apartments above, below, or next to a target, or getting fellow tenants that are above, below, or next to a target to engage in organized stalking harassment. Breaking into their apartment, stealing rent. Anything that they can do in order to cause the eviction of a target or to motivate the target to move based on the non-stop harassment, the target's apartment getting broken into, even poisoning of food. And poisoning their food is mentioned by numerous targets all over the internet and in both of the books I got. Okay, so stay with me. So, organized stalking targets are also harassed along all of their routes every single day, everywhere they go. And as a result of some of these syndicated organized crime members that are involved in these crimes, since they have employment descriptions that are in the system. Hang on one more second. Okay, ouch. Since they have employment descriptions that are in the system, well, let me backtrack for a second. The individual that's on gangstalking bullying on steroids flat out states he's harassed and stalked everywhere he goes. Now, in order for somebody to be harassed, stalked, and harassed everywhere they go, somebody's got to be putting him under surveillance in order to be able to place the harassment around him for him to experience. All right, now keep that in mind. The other thing that was covered in the news broadcast is that he's literally gang-stalked even at his home, concerning how they get on his roof. Yeah, and screw around with him so they make sure that he hears them on the roof, on his roof. Okay? It's literally flat out covered in the news broadcast. So think about this. If a person is stating in a news broadcast that he's harassed every single place he goes, and even at his home, then you add the additional information that I've already described in this video, you'll clearly be able to see that they not only create homelessness of targets, but then they continue the campaign once the target is homeless or goes to a motel room, or even goes to another apartment. In the one book I got, The Invisible Crime, it flat out states that this guy had to go through 6 apartments. He thought at first it was just the neighborhood he was living in, so he went to another neighborhood, rented an apartment, and within a week it started there. Did the same thing again, within a week started there. Did the same thing again, within a week started there. So he moved to North Carolina with his parents, and the gang stalking started towards him in North Carolina within a week. And that target who wrote that book is from Beverly Hills, California. My name is Leslie Williams. I'm making these statements so you can see what happens to organized stalking, gang stalking targets. They create homelessness of targets and put them out on the street, then use strangers to engage in harassment around the target as a result of surveilling a target and tracking a target in real time. Then they will also stage events around the target, whether it be in a business and on a transportation service like with me, MTS, okay? Trolley stations, trolley routes, bus stops, bus routes, stores, libraries, universities. Everywhere a targeted individual goes, they are harassed in the same exact identical way by different people. They're called sensitization methods in reference to the kind of harassment. And when they see that that's not helping breaking the target down, because when the target breaks down or gets assaulted and calls 911, and they're either sent to a psychiatric ward or emergency, their insurance is bilked. That's part of the racketeering concerning these crimes. Now, what we got to understand here is that if they'll go as far as stalking a target to multiple apartments, to motel rooms, Google Erica Dean Gilmore, California target. See what comes up. Yeah. Sylvia Amaryllis. Rachel O, and I got her information on my laptop right now. She just literally wrote a blog concerning being gang stalked at UCSD and on MTS once she left USCSD on December 20th, 2012. Beth Donahue, another San Diego target. And multiple other ones. Right now in my backpack I got blogs like you would not believe of individuals who left San Diego because they got sick of it. One person left New Hampshire, he was being gang stalked in New Hampshire, came to San Diego and was gang stalked here, and so he left. His name was Jeff, and I got his blog in my backpack right now. So, the point I'm trying to make is this. If they'll gang stalk you to multiple apartments along all of your routes, everywhere you go, every single day, do you honestly think for 1 minute that they will not have you gang stalked and harassed at your apartment, at your hiking area? Think again. So, the third thing on my list that I wrote down here that I wanted to make sure that I stayed on track in order to be able to talk to you about is that within the last 4 or 5 days, I made separate statements on at least 2 separate microcards that fit inside of this tape recorder here. Micro memory cards that go inside the slot on the side that you can open up. Okay, I'm going to open it up now so you can see it. Okay, see that little slot right there that you can see? Okay, that's where a micro memory card can fit into it so you can have additional memory. On the one that I had in it up until just a few days ago, and this new one, I made verbal statements in the previous one, and then in this new one, I believe in this new one, that on multiple dates in the last 4 days, and multiple times in the last 4 days, that there'd be a great likelihood that they would set somebody up to hike out very close by me in order to make me fearful that my property would be stolen. So why would they do that? For the last 5 months, I've been making videos before I leave my hiking area, stating what I'm being put up with here at my hiking area by individuals that they get up on the sidewalk to ride their bikes by, walk their bikes by, or jog by, and then what they'll do is say gang stalk, gang stalker, or gang stalking, and then they'll say, why don't you come and steal their stuff? Just loud enough for me to hear, and very hard for this tape recorder to pick up because it's almost 100 feet away. Okay? Now, I have over 700 audio files at least of individuals getting around me every place I go, even places that I've only visited once or for the first time, getting around me and saying gang stalk, gang stalker, gang stalk, oh my god, gang stalk, oh my god, gang stalk, oh my god, in that way, in that literal way. And 0.01% of those audio files have been uploaded to the internet. Look in the description of this YouTube video for blog titles that you can copy and paste at Google search. Once you hit enter, the blog will come up. Click on it, open it up, and look at the videos, because the videos hold the audio files that were transferred over to video file of this tactic literally being exposed online. Yeah, and we're going to see if any of my YouTube channels are shut down, and I'll get to that in another video. So, I was on the news on July 15, 2013, and on July 22, 2013, in reference to wearing a t-shirt that said, learning disabled woman brutally assaulted on MTS bus, district attorney won't investigate. Right behind the individuals who were given the news conference, right in front of the San Diego District Attorney's building where that office is, the building where the office is, okay, standing right in front of that building and right behind San Diego City Hall where the news conference was held at. I was literally standing 1 foot behind throughout the whole time duration of this news conference the people who were giving it, wearing this white shirt with black lettering that said learning disabled woman brutally assaulted on MTS bus, district attorney won't investigate. Then on July 22nd, 2013, I stood behind 2 city council members who were given a news conference with the same shirt on, and then with the sign that said sexually harassed inside of the Hall of Justice, sexually harassed by San Diego Sheriff's officers in the Hall of Justice, nobody cares. I'm holding up this sign with the shirt on. Okay, and both things have been found by me to be covered in reference to the news broadcasts that are online concerning those 2 events. I went and searched for them in reference to the news coverage of it, and you can clearly see me on both. That's right. I'll copy and paste that information in the description of this YouTube video, and I also took videos of the coverage of it online. Okay, and I also took videos of when I was down there on those days. Okay, so between the exposure of that, yes, and the undisputable huge amounts of evidence that I have, it's totally, now I've already went over 15 minutes, so I'm just going to go ahead and upload this in a YouTube channel that I didn't want to. But think about this. As a result of me exposing that this is organized crime in the system, and an MTS sent me an altered video of me being assaulted, okay, the San Diego District Attorney's Office has been notified by mail, by me in person on numerous occasions, okay, well, they were notified by email, one time by mail, and one time by me physically in their presence. They have done nothing about it whatsoever. I recently got the police report connected to that crime, total lies put in it, and information that I stated as the police came out on that day and subsequent days in reference to the persons who were supposed to be investigating the crime, they left information out concerning an assault. The San Diego police were also notified on numerous occasions that MTS sent me an altered video. And a lot of that was caught on, well, I'll put it to you this way, it's saved in space and time to where it can be proven what was stated to them in their replies. Okay? Now, so, that's omitted from the report, that I ever approached them and told them that the MTS video that MTS sent me is altered. Not even mentioned once in the report. Okay? Other things that I told them about what really happened on that bus, totally 100% not in the report, and then lies are put in it. Total, complete lies are put in it. So, as a result of all this thing, me getting attention on the news, I've had people come around me at UCSD. I've had two people at UCSD say they saw me on the news. Also, on the 24th or 25th, I went down to the San Diego, I think it was on the 25th, I went down to the San Diego Police Department headquarters for the first and only time in my entire life, okay, to get that police report. And then before I went there, I stopped off at the City Hall to ask for directions concerning where it was actually at. Then I went there, got the report, some things happened there. Then I came back to the area where the City Hall is, and I bought 3 slices of pizza on the way at 7-Eleven, and then I looked for a place to sit down in the shade to eat them. And the only place I could find over by City Hall, because I wanted to go in there and get some information about when the council meetings were. Okay? So I went and found a place where there's a cafe right across the doorways of when you go into City Hall. There's a cafe right across the easeway there. So I sat down and I ate my 3 pieces of pizza and my soft drink. And then after I got done with that, I went back into the City Hall and talked to 3 police officers. And I stated to them that, I asked them, I go, where do I go to make a police report about being sexually harassed by San Diego Sheriff's Department officers? And they said, and then they gave me an address to go to, and then they said, well, we know who you are because we saw you with your sign the other day at the news conference. I said, really? And they said, yeah, so the San Diego Sheriff's Department's already been notified. I said, well, how can they identify me or what date when it happened on? And he said, facial recognition. Yes. Yes. So, I have undisputable proof that I was sexually harassed inside of the Hall of Justice by the San Diego Sheriff's Department officers. It turned out to be on February 20th. I thought it was on March 29th because I had been going back and forth inside that building on so many dates between those dates that I got confused about what date it happened on. But it did happen on February 20th, 2013. Now, so, as a result of all this stuff happening at once, and them getting nervous about this situation because it's been covered on the news now, me literally standing 1 foot behind the people that were giving the news conference with a shirt on that said, learning disabled woman brutally assaulted on MTS bus, and then on the second occasion, that shirt being worn along with the sign stating that sexually harassed inside of the Hall of Justice. So, I made a prediction about how they might try to buy time. I call it wiggle room, wiggle room. Time, room for them to wiggle in order for them to create and maneuver possible future events, and also concerning how they might try and lie about me actually being sexually harassed or about the MTS assault video being altered. And the only way that what I did was I took a look at their tactics and methods, their fears, their limitations, because if the San Diego police, unless they're stupid, they're not going to come straight here to my hiking area unless they use a neighbor as a buffer, like them approach me and saying a neighbor heard you or saw you, decided to call the police, or they'll say, see, what they did was they set up at least 2 to 3 people to hike out 300 feet away from me. That's right. And so anyways, what I did, and they've said gangstalking from a distance. I've made numerous audio files concerning it. So what I did was, in the last 4 or 5 days, I made at least 3 separate audio files, statements in 3 separate audio files at least, that there's a great likelihood that they might bring somebody down in my hiking area to set up a tent in plain view of mine. And why would they do that? Well, as a result of them getting on the sidewalk, having mostly professional bicyclists that wear the bike, the bike spandex stuff that's got the, the brand names on them, and really nice bikes, getting by on the sidewalk and saying gangstalk, gangstalker, gangstalk. Why don't you come and steal our stuff periodically? And I know it's them because I got my point of view that I can see the sidewalk once they pass by. Okay. And that's done to interfere my property being stolen. So I created very good ways to hide my property from being, in plain sight. Okay? And so what they do is they look at what their options are. And what do I mean by that? Well, if they want to motivate a target to move, which will take time to move, because then they have to pick up everything that they got, find a new hiking location, then pick up everything they got, and since they don't have a car, they can only carry so much on their back and on their bike at once, which means that if a person's got quite a bit of property, it could take them up to 5 days just to move everything they got, let alone getting settled in at the new place, once they find a place. It can take 3 weeks to move from one hiking area to another one, because it can take up to a week to find another one. So, the assault took place in October of 2011. Okay, look in the description of this YouTube video for a YouTube title, because this is a two-part video series. Okay, just do it, because you got to be able to see the continued statements of this video. Now, in order to be able to file a lawsuit against MTS notified me stating I got a 2-year time limit to file a lawsuit concerning that assault. That's right. But since they altered the evidence, that doesn't apply, because it was never properly investigated. That's right. That's why the San Diego District Attorney's Office and the organized stalking harassment, what you got to do is itemize what their fears are, how they're breaking the law, okay, and then how they can intimidate and bribe lawyers. Also, how they engage in organized stalking cyber surveillance to see what I'm doing online. Lately, I've been looking up a lot of lawyers, okay? So I started looking at how are they going to react to try and tie me up possibly in the busyness of moving. Well, they could either get a neighbor to say that they saw or heard me down here, a neighbor to say that they saw and heard me having an altercation with the 2 to 3 freaks they set up 300 feet away that are yelling Gangstalking on occasion, literally yelling it, okay? And so I thought to myself, they know I got a video camera and a digital tape recorder. I pulled it out in front of when the news conference was going on, it was pulled out, okay? And so the point I'm trying to make here is this. What they try to do is anchor fear in your mind. Your property is going to get stolen at your hiking area. That's why they get up on the sidewalk and will say, gangstalk, gangstalk, or gangstalk, why don't you come and steal or stalk? They've also said it at USD. Instead of UCSD, instead of why don't you come and steal or stalk, they said, why don't you go and steal or stalk? Literally. Now, so what I did was I created very clever ways of hiding my property. And then I thought to myself, well, so that took that fear away from them, okay? And then so what I said was, in a digital tape recorder and at least 3 to 4 audio files in the last 4 to 5 days, I made statements in separate audio files. Let's see if they bring somebody down here to set up their hiking area very close by mine, so as a result, they'll see me hiding property and getting it out from where it's hidden at. That in turn would cause me to stay in a fearful state every day, wondering if my property is being stolen once I leave my hiking area. Yeah. So I made these statements on at least 4 separate occasions in multiple audio files, at least on one memory disk. That's right. So what did they do yesterday when I came home from Ralph's? They had one of the individuals over there from 300 feet away start clearing out brush that is directly perpendicular to one of the areas that I hide my property at every morning when I leave. Yeah. So I had to spend almost 4 hours this morning putting up black weather sheets to block his line of sight. Look in the description of this YouTube video for continuation of these statements, because this is where it's going to get real descriptive concerning this crime that's happening to me. Thank you.